Imagine this. You've just scraped together every last dime, pooled resources with friends, maybe even called in a favor from grandma, all to secure a new place. You hand over $15,000 in cold, hard cash to your landlord for the first and last month's rent, plus a hefty deposit. You sign the lease, feeling that sweet relief, that rush of excitement for a fresh start. Then, you wake up the very next morning, ready to move in, only to find the unit padlocked, your landlord's phone dead, and a sickening pit forming in your stomach. That's already a gut punch, right? A total stomach drop moment. But what if that initial shock, that infuriating scam, was just the tip of a much darker iceberg? What if your desperate hunt to reclaim your stolen money didn't just lead to an awkward confrontation, but instead unearthed something far more sinister? We're talking about bones in the backyard, a seemingly quiet renter with a rap sheet longer than the lease agreement itself, and a motive so chilling it still gives seasoned detectives frostbite. Stick around, because this isn't just some petty theft story. This is a true crime revenge tale that spirals into a full-blown murder investigation, ending with handcuffs, blazing headlines, and a whole lot of "I told you so" from the unlikeliest of heroes, a group of broke but incredibly determined tenants. Our story begins with Mindy Calm, a woman of 72 who owned a rather unassuming yet tidy fourplex nestled in Finland, California. Now, Finland isn't exactly a bustling metropolis. It's one of those blink and you miss it spots, tucked away near the sun-baked sprawl of the Inland Empire. Mindy had advertised the last available unit online, a tempting listing: move-in ready, $2,500 deposit, cash preferred. That last part, cash preferred, should have been a red flag, but when you're desperate for a place, sometimes you overlook the little things. Enter our protagonists. 4 college friends, utterly fed up with the couch surfing circuit and the general instability of post-grad life. They were a mix of optimists and pragmatists, each with their own financial contributions. They pooled their recent tax refunds, hustled extra gig money, and one even had a generous check from a doting grandma. Slowly, painstakingly, they scraped together the formidable sum of $15,000. Imagine that stack of 20s and 50s, a tangible representation of their hopes and dreams for a stable future. They met Mindy on a Sunday afternoon, a seemingly innocuous meeting that would soon become etched in their memories. They signed the lease, received a hastily handwritten receipt, another detail that might have seemed charmingly old school at the time, but would later haunt them, and left feeling absolutely starry-eyed. The keys were in hand, the future looked bright, and the apartment was officially theirs. They celebrated, probably ordered pizza, and dreamed of decorating. But Monday morning shattered that dream with brutal efficiency. They arrived at their new home only to find the unit door secured with a heavy, unfamiliar padlock. Mindy's phone, which had been so readily answered just yesterday, was now dead. A frantic check of the city recorder's office revealed the truly devastating kicker. The property, their supposed new home, was already deep in foreclosure proceedings. Poof, just like that. Landlord, money, dreams, all gone, vanished into thin air. Their 15 grand, their fresh start, had been stolen before they even had a chance to unpack. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind of panic, anger, and disbelief. They filed a police report, naturally, but anyone who's ever dealt with law enforcement on a fraud case knows the harsh reality. These cases often sit low on the priority pile, gathering dust while detectives chase more serious crimes. The tenants quickly realized they couldn't just wait around for justice to be served. So they did what any broke, tech-savvy 20-somethings would do when confronted with an injustice. They blasted social media. Their posts went viral within their local circles. They tagged every Karen of the County page, every neighborhood watch group, every local news outlet. They even started a dedicated Discord server christened Operation Rentback, a virtual war room for their burgeoning investigation. The internet, A chaotic but powerful force began to hum with their story. Tips started rolling in. Mindy's distinctive Buick, a beige sedan with a dented fender, was spotted near Tustin. Her P.O. box, which had been diligently kept for years, was suddenly cleared out. Someone even remembered seeing her buying a burner phone at the same Walmart she'd once cashed their deposit. Each tip, each sighting, painted a clearer, more disturbing picture of Mindy's premeditated disappearance. Then came the truly bizarre and chilling kicker. Mindy's own daughter, distraught and confused, posted a missing person plea on Facebook, begging for information about her mother who hadn't answered calls in over a week. Suddenly, this wasn't just a simple case of landlord fraud or theft. This was a vanishing act, a genuine mystery. And the internet, with its insatiable appetite for intrigue, absolutely loves a mystery. The story shifted from a local scam to something much darker, capturing the attention of local news outlets and transforming Mindy Cohn from a petty thief to a baffling enigma. With the police seemingly dragging their feet and the media circus swirling, the tenants decided they couldn't just stand by. Armed with metaphorical megaphones, literal flashlights, and equal parts simmering rage and an unhealthy amount of caffeine, the roommates launched their own investigation. They returned to the Finland property not just to mourn their lost money, but to scour every inch of it. They were looking for anything, any clue, any sign that Mindy might have left behind. They combed through the overgrown garden, peered into neglected corners, their desperation fueling their meticulous search. It was during one of these increasingly desperate searches that they noticed something peculiar, a patch of freshly turned soil in the garden bed. It seemed entirely out of place, especially for a woman like Mindy who had proudly bragged about her no green thumb genes during their initial viewing. The observation sparked a flurry of texts and a 2 a.m. group chat that crackled with nervous energy. What if? What if it wasn't just a garden patch? The idea, initially dismissed as morbid fantasy, began to take root. They decided, with a shared uneasy glance, to dig, literally. The shovels hit dirt and the tension was palpable. 6 inches down, they struck something, a purse strap. A collective gasp. 1 foot deeper, a boot. Their hearts hammered in their chests, a chilling certainty replacing their initial trepidation. And then deeper still, the unmistakable, horrifying outline of human remains. The amateur sleuths who had only wanted their $15,000 back had stumbled upon a nightmare. The discovery immediately escalated everything. Cue the frantic 911 call, the wailing sirens echoing through the quiet neighborhood, the stark yellow tape cordoning off the property. Within hours, the serene fourplex became a crime scene. And amidst the chaos, a quiet resident of Unit A, a woman named Margaret Miner, was cuffed and led away by detectives. The initial reports were cryptic. Evidence in her closet, they said, tied her directly to Mindy's death, though the motive remained tightly sealed, a dark secret held by the authorities. The tenants, they had only wanted their $15,000 back. Instead, they found a body, a murderer, and a story far bigger than they could have ever imagined. As Mindy's shocking homicide dominated local headlines, turning Finland, California into the unlikely epicenter of a true crime sensation, another $15,000 theft was simmering nearby. This parallel story, though separate, offered a crucial lesson in how to fight for justice when the system seems to fail you. It involved a ServPro contractor named Brett Hosking, who days after being fired, brazenly swiped jewelry and irreplaceable heirlooms from a client's flooded condo. The victim, Angela Puglis, spent months battling corporate insurance, facing endless bureaucracy and frustrating denials. Her pleas for reimbursement seemed to fall on deaf ears, a common and disheartening experience for victims of theft. But Angela didn't give up. She took her story to the media. Eyewitness News, sensing a compelling human interest piece, intervened. Suddenly, cameras were rolling, microphones were thrust into faces, and the story of Angela's stolen treasures and the company's alleged negligence was broadcast across the airwaves. The result was swift and undeniable. Public pressure mounted so rapidly that the ServPro franchise, wanting to avoid a public relations nightmare, cut Angela an $18,000 check overnight, covering her losses and then some. Hosking, facing undeniable evidence and media scrutiny, eventually pleaded guilty to receiving stolen goods. The translation of this story for our tenants was crystal clear. Noise works. Silence, they realized, was their enemy. Media attention, however uncomfortable, was their most potent weapon. They took notes, meticulously documenting every step of their own ordeal, every frustrating interaction with the police, every unanswered phone call. They started pitching their story to every local news outlet, every true crime podcast, every investigative journalist they could find. Their persistence paid off. They scored a primetime slot on a major local news program. Their faces, their anger, and their shocking discovery broadcast to thousands. This media-fueled public pressure became an unstoppable force. It compelled Mindy's estate lawyer, who was likely trying to quietly manage the deceased's affairs, to offer restitution to the tenants, even before probate proceedings had officially begun. It was a rare, almost unheard of victory, a testament to the power of a compelling narrative amplified by the media. This wasn't just justice, it was media-sourced justice, served ice cold, a direct consequence of refusing to be ignored. Months later, the legal wheels began to grind. Margaret Minor, the quiet renter from Unit A, appeared in Riverside Supreme Court. Dressed in an ill-fitting orange jumpsuit, her face a mask of blankness, she seemed almost disconnected from the gravity of the situation. Prosecutors, armed with the gruesome evidence unearthed by the tenants, upgraded the charges. What had begun as a simple theft had morphed into a murder case, now with special circumstances, a legal term that whispered of the death penalty looming large over Minor's future. The courtroom gallery was packed, and among the spectators, a familiar group sat together, a silent, powerful presence. Our tenants. They wore matching t-shirts emblazoned with the stark, impactful message, "Cash grab cost a life." Their 15 grand was still missing, a tangible void in their lives. But in that moment, watching their landlord's alleged killer stand accused, there was a profound sense of partial payment. It wasn't the money, not yet, but it was a recognition, a validation of their nightmare. Outside the courthouse, a throng of reporters descended, eager for sound bites, for the human elements of this incredible story. They swarmed the tenants, microphones extended, cameras flashing. The golden question, the one that everyone wanted to ask, finally came. Did you ever imagine your deposit drama would lead here? The answer, delivered with the wary but defies edge, quickly became iconic. We just wanted the key. We got a corpse. 0 stars on Yelp. It was witty, it was casual, and it perfectly encapsulated the absurd, horrifying journey they'd been forced to take. Fast forward another 6 months. The legal process, slow and deliberate, continued its march. The district attorney, seeking to avoid a lengthy and costly trial, offered Margaret Minor a plea deal. Second-degree murder, a sentence of 15 to life, in exchange for one crucial piece of information: where she had stashed Mindy's assets. It was a strategic move, offering a measure of justice while also recovering the stolen funds. Minor, facing the very real possibility of the death penalty, finally confessed. The location was unexpected, almost comically mundane. Cash, sealed meticulously inside paint cans, hidden away in a dusty storage locker. Detectives, following Minor's directions, recovered the funds, a total of $14,847, dusted in primer but otherwise intact. Almost the full amount, a miraculous recovery after such a harrowing ordeal. The tenants, after all this time, finally got their money back. But their journey didn't end there. They split the recovered cash, a symbolic act of closure and a practical step towards rebuilding their lives. And with the small surplus, they did something truly remarkable. They didn't just walk away. They started a tenant rights nonprofit, channeling their trauma into advocacy. They began lobbying for statewide digital escrow systems, pushing for legislative changes that would prevent future tenants from falling victim to similar scams. They didn't set out for revenge, not in the traditional sense, but their unwavering refusal to shut up, their relentless pursuit of answers, had not only shackled the killer, but had also sparked a movement that would change California rental law for countless others. Sometimes justice doesn't just need a courtroom. It needs a megaphone, a lot of grit, and in this case, a shovel. So let's bring it back to you. What would you do if your landlord vanished with your life savings? These friends proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that silence isn't the only option. They taught us a powerful lesson: dig, demand, and document. They showed us that sometimes the scariest stories don't start with monsters lurking in the shadows. They start with seemingly innocuous handwritten receipts, a little too much trust, and a system that sometimes needs a serious push. If you've got your own rental nightmare, your own story of injustice, drop it in the comments below. Maybe your experience, your anger, your determination fuels the next expose. Smash that subscribe button for more true crime revenge tales, because there are always more stories waiting to be told. And remember this, always read the fine print, keep every single receipt, and never, ever underestimate angry tenants with shovels. You just never know what they might unearth.